Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Talk Within the Nine-Sided Circle. I am your other host, Mushtaq Ali, and your host, Noor Kyle, is still on vacation. We miss her terribly, but this is important. She got to watch her 90-year-old grandmother jump out of a plane yesterday. It was her grandma's top of her bucket list. So they all drove out to Vermont, right on Lake Champlain, and her grandma went way up in the sky and jumped out of a plane, fortunately with a parachute. And they all stood on the ground going, "Oh my God." And she got down safely. And so just shows to go you that it doesn't matter how old you are, you can still have fun, even if your fun terrifies everybody else. So, I've got to do my spiel, which is, if this is your first time here, welcome. If this is your first time here and you're watching this on YouTube, welcome even more, because we love having people watch us on YouTube. Which reminds me, if you would be so kind as to hit the like button if you watch this, it helps us greatly. It takes a second for you, and it gets us further up in YouTube's arcane algorithms for what people get to see. And it would be even more wonderful if you subscribe to the channel. We put out content at least once a week. And we are having a drive right now to get up to 1,000 people. Not because we need 1,000 people, but we need 1,000 people so that we can join the YouTube Partners Program and turn off the damn ads that YouTube has been sticking in front of our videos. And it's the only way I can figure out how to do it. They don't care anymore that you're not monetized as a channel. So the only way we've found to get away with this is to be a part of their partner program and then go in and say, we don't want these people advertising on our videos. Because some of the people who are advertising on our videos, little sleazy, can't recommend them. And so we would be ever so grateful if you subscribe to this channel. I promise it won't hurt. You might find the occasional amusing video. There are, from time to time, prizes that we give out for something. And you never know what they are. We have given out rare volumes of work material and other things. I forget what all, but they were all good. So, there we have it. There will be more announcements later, but let's get right to it today. So the topic today is inner peace. What is it, and why would we want it? Unfortunately, here in the West, and this started out a very long time ago, back in the 60s, there was this talk of we must have inner peace. They didn't tell you what inner peace was, so they left it to your imagination. It's like, oh, everybody should know what inner peace is. But no. So a lot of people thought that inner peace was being a little stoned. And many people of my generation took that path. I was just talking with some of my friends here about the town of Goa, which is on the coast of India, and back in the 60s and 70s was the place for hippies to go. I went there, didn't stay very long, but it reminded me of parts of San Francisco today where just the cloud of hashish over the area was thick enough to cut with a knife. And so that's not inner peace, though. Then also, people mistake being in a trance for inner peace. This is what started this topic. Was yesterday somebody was saying, oh, I was recommended an app for my phone for yoga nidras. And so I have this opinion on what passes for yoga nidra here, which is that what you're doing is not yoga nidra. What you're doing is a mild trance induction. You know, you lay on the floor in corpse pose and somebody talks to you. You know, and they'll start out by centering you in your body, and then they'll have you do various things. And all it is a trance induction. It's not what the original practice was meant to be. Because the original yoga nidra, as I understood it, does not put you in a trance. It keeps you present. And the state of calm presence is the beginning of inner peace. Let me repeat that. The state of calm presence is the beginning of inner peace. So I'm going to start this with giving everybody who is here and listening to this one of our fundamental practices that we have not put on video yet. And it's very, very simple. The English translation of this is taking off the mask. And what you do is you relax your face. And now everybody's going to go, yeah, my face is already relaxed. But it's not. Take a moment to feel your face and notice where there are lines of tension. And when you notice them, just let them go. Simple practice, right? There's another step. And let me tell you, I was given this practice when I was 23. And I am coming up on my 70th birthday. You will notice that no crow's feet, no wrinkles in my forehead. I mean, yes, I don't look like I'm 20, but I also don't look like somebody threw a prune in the sun and let it dry up. I attribute that to this practice. Because what makes most of the wrinkles in your face is not your skin getting all gnarly and nasty, it's the chronic tension that you carry. This is why Botox works, right? You shoot Botox in your forehead and all the wrinkles go away. That's because Botox is a paralytic. It literally paralyzes the muscles in your face so that they can't maintain their chronic tension until the Botox wears off. Then it comes back. You can actually achieve the same results as Botox through this practice without having to inject your body with a poison. You know, Botox is extracted from the botulism toxin. Botulism is what used to kill people all the time because of poorly canned food. So, now the thing that you do with this practice, though, is that, yes, you sit and you feel for the tension all through your head, and when you find it, you let it go. But more importantly than that is you do this when you are talking. So I'm talking to you now, and I'm telling you things, and then I'm telling you some more things. And then when I'm done telling you whatever I'm telling you, I stop talking, I feel my face, and I relax it. Because whatever I'm speaking about is going to bring up states in me, right? It may bring up a state of excitement, may bring up a state of anger, may bring up a state of confusion, right? Could do all of these things, but at the end of it, I can go back to the natural state. And the natural state is one of alert, aware relaxation. Is this making sense so far?
Mm-hmm.
Have you all tried just finding tension in your face and relaxing it? Did you notice that there is tension in your face? Did anybody not see any tension in their face or feel any tension in their face? Good. So, you turn this into a practice, and your speech is what reminds you to return yourself to the natural state of calm awareness. So I'm talking to you, I'm telling you about relaxation, and as I do it, look at my forehead. I get this a little bit of intensity in my talking, and then I let it all go. And it feels like a wave going across my face from front to back. And that's what you want to do, is get the whole head, and eventually the neck as well. Now, this practice alone is not going to bring you to inner peace, but it's going to prime the pump for you. So, here's a question, and this is not rhetorical. What is inner peace to you? You know what they say, speak now or forever hold your peace. Don't everybody talk at once.
Well, I guess steady consciousness.
Okay, that is a good definition. Say a little bit more about it.
Well, I was going to say steady mindedness, but you've already said, you know, this isn't about the mind exactly. But I suppose it's not being distracted by inner turmoil.
Can you have inner turmoil and have inner peace at the same time?
Depends on what you mean by turmoil. You can presumably have inner peace and strong emotions at the same time.
Can you have those emotions conflict with themselves?
What do you have in mind there?
Oh, maybe half of you wants to go out and walk down the street and the other half of you wants to hide under your bed.
They're all aspects of one person in one moment. So if you can see the whole system, you can still have peace.
Yes. Levita, what do you think? You're smart. You know about things.
Ha ha. I drink and I know things.
Yes.
I haven't had a drink today. Well, since I'm answering this off the cuff, what came to mind is knowing who I am, what I want, knowing my place in my community, and being content with those things, and knowing that no matter what happens, I'm still me. So things might happen, but that doesn't change who I am as a person.
That brings up a very important thing, yeah. So, if you go to some New Age group around here and you ask them what inner peace is, they're going to say, well, your emotions are always calm. This is not true. To be human is to experience emotion. Inner peace is the ability to experience the emotion without identification. And let the emotion pass through along its natural course without you having to pretend that you are that. this is like one of the most important things to understand, is that you do not turn anything off. You do not become dissociated from what the world gives you and your responses to it. You just do not identify with it. And this is advice that we've gotten over and over and over again for thousands of years. One of my favorite passages from the Bhagavad Gita is when Krishna says to Arjuna, act and don't be attached to the fruits of your action. It's like some of the best advice I have ever found. It's like, oh, yeah, right. Do what you have to do and don't be attached. If you can maintain that state, you got yourself some inner peace. So, what prevents you from maintaining this calm, aware, alert state that is a witness to everything that is given, but not attached or identified to it?
The pull of the emotions that we're experiencing is so strong that we are unable to remain detached, right? And we get identified with it and just end up experiencing that whole cycle of emotions.
Yes. So you must train yourself to not identify. And how do we do that?
Practice.
Yes, and how do we practice? With smaller things. You're familiar with the term chittavritti. This is from the Yoga Sutra and from Sanskrit philosophy in general. The entirety of the path is contained in like the first 10 lines of the Yoga Sutras, which says in rough translation, this is the teachings of yoga. Yoga meaning integration, connection, union. Yoga is the ceasings of the twistings and turnings of the chitta, the mind that is speaking to you. When this happens, the witness is in its proper place. The seer is in its proper place as witness to that which is given to it from the universe. At all other times, the seer is identified with the content that is being given to it. If you get that much, you've got pretty much everything. The rest of the book is just explaining ways to do it. And I think that that's the clearest exposition of the situation, but you'll find that in, say, The Secret of Secrets by Abdul Qadir Jilani basically says the same thing, only in Arabic. Over and over again, it's the same thing. And so you practice with those things that are easier to do. If you practice with really strong emotion at first, they're going to overwhelm you. But if you practice with lighter things, then you will develop your muscles. It's like if you start developing your body, you do not go out and try and deadlift 400 pounds, right? If it's me, I start deadlifting 50 pounds. then a year down the road, I can deadlift 400 pounds. Well, maybe not me. The rest of you guys could do that. So the heat created through ongoing practice is what begins to empower you to do this. The practice of creating disassociation from or disidentification from what is given to you creates friction. It creates heat that gives you more energy for work after a while.
It would begin with the practice of saying no.
Yes.
So when I see anger coming, I just say no to it. And that is the beginning of non-identification.
Yeah, that's
So
an excellent practice.
So just the very small practice of saying no, that begins our journey towards non-identification.
I would say that that is exactly correct. That's a good place to start.
Other thing is it possible that we can, I don't know that I am identified to go to non-independent state?
Yeah, and there's a tricky thing there. When you notice that you're identified, you tend to disidentify. So here you are and you're lost in something. Somebody said something to you at work and you're sitting there an hour later chewing on it. And then all of a sudden you're going, oh my God, I have gone to sleep behind this. And the moment you notice that, you wake up from that little trance. So yes, you can do that. And it's really cool to do that because that in itself offers you an opportunity to catch the awakened state. Mustaqim has asked a question that says, is this the same as to be awake? It's the first step. The first step to being awake is to learn to create this state in yourself of calm, presence and awareness that is intentional. It's not passive, it's active. Y'all understand about the difference between active awareness and passive awareness? So, I can sit here and let the universe give me stuff. And that's passive. Or I can let my consciousness interact with that which is being given. And that's active. We say consciousness is intentional because we make up the universe that we experience. We are the Buddha that makes the grass green. What you see around you is, by and large, the creation of your own mind. I'll give you an example. I am mostly blind in my left eye. I have vague vision. But with both eyes open, somebody's mic is, I think that may do it. With both eyes open, I see the world very, very clearly, to the point where I even still have depth perception. And the reason for that is that my consciousness interpolates the areas that my left eye can't see and fills them in for me. It literally creates my vision. And we all do this. How many of you have seen something in the distance and thought, oh, that's something? And you get closer and closer to it, and all of a sudden you realize it wasn't what you thought it was at all. It was something totally different. But for the time where it was what you thought it was, that's what it appeared as to you. Another example from my own life, coming up on something that looked like a snake across the trail that I was walking down. And I'm looking at it, and it's not moving, and I'm going, what kind of snake is that? Is that a rattlesnake, or is that a king snake or a gopher snake? So I get a little bit closer and a little bit closer and a little bit closer. And all of a sudden, in one step, it transformed from a snake into an old piece of rope. Just like that. But before it made that little transformation, to my eyes, it was a snake. So I wasn't passively being given a snake from the universe. I was creating that snake in my mind's eye. Which is not a bad thing. The trouble, you get into trouble if it is a snake and you create a rope. That can get you in trouble. So, this state that you want to cultivate is a state of calm presence. And I would submit to you that this is the natural state of human consciousness. That this is where we are supposed to live, and then we visit from here. So, right now I am experiencing a calm presence, but a smell comes through my window. And if it's a bad smell, I might experience a moment of disgust. You know, my nostrils are going to open up and I'm going to, go, I don't like that. Or, as is the case right now, my neighbors are cooking and I can smell the food coming in through the window, and that's a happy smell. So I visit those, and then I notice that I visited those, and again, I relax my face, and I just let it be without focusing on what is being given to me. It sounds very simple, right? Who would have thought that purely the act of relaxing your face can change your consciousness? And they all sat there silently.
I had a question.
Good.
That example where you're smelling the neighbor's cooking, can you now start to, say you had an interest in what is it they're cooking, and you want to try and distinguish whether it was chicken soup or fried bacon, and you start to tune in to the smells coming in. Does that necessarily disturb your state of calm presence?
No. No. If I smelled that and went, oh, they're cooking chicken. They're cooking chicken with a brown sugar barbecue sauce, because I can smell the caramelization going on. There are notes of chilies in what's coming in through the window. I'm not identifying with any of these. It's just, it's given to my consciousness. I'm identifying it as closely as I can. but I'm not lost into it. Like if I went, oh God, that reminds me of the time I was out with my friends and we were barbecuing chicken and we had such a good time and we hung out for hours in the park and what a great party. Or anything like that where you get lost in the memory and the memory takes you away from the present. And this gets to the second step in this talk, which is I mentioned yoga nidra, which is presented here in America as a form of trance, where you are talked into a state in between waking and sleeping. You know, I would say to you, and here's an example of how they do it here. Go ahead and lay down on your back and assume the corpse pose. Now, listening to the sound of my voice, I want you to start by noticing your feet. And just put your awareness on your feet and take a moment to feel them, and then let your awareness move up your legs. And from your legs to your torso, then from your fingers to your forearms, to your shoulders, and then to your neck and your head. And I'm going through this very quickly because I don't actually want to put you in trance. Now that you have felt your whole body and let it relax, I want you to let yourself begin to imagine yourself going to a very happy place. And I would go on from there and talk you into a very nice medium trance where you would get really, really relaxed and you would drift off and maybe have some nice hypnagogic states. And then at the end of it, I would bring you back. And I submit to you that, at least according to what I learned, that is not actually yoga nidra. And fortunately, we have some people here who probably have more knowledge about this than I do. So if you guys have any thoughts on this, please chime in.
Well, I do ask people to relax before I start my talk. I do go through a 5-minute relaxation process, which is very similar to what you talk about. But there are much deeper states of yoga nidra. Actually, there is one Upanishad which is called the Yoga Nidra Upanishad, which goes very into this the different states of yoga nidra.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with helping people to achieve a light trance. Now, what my teacher told me was that the highest form of yoga nidra was to be able to completely relax your body, to allow it to become, all of the muscles to become released, while at the same time being completely conscious and not giving up your awareness. And your awareness may be in the present time, or it could go into the different realms of what we would usually think of as dream and sleep. But to do that with this same sense of calm, conscious presence.
There are certain places in the body where when we bring awareness, it has a kind of ripple effect of relaxing the other parts of the body.
Yes.
Supposing the perineum, if we take, and if we consciously move attention in the perineum, then the rippling effects which come, it does relax the other parts of the body. So there are places like palate, the top where of the mouth, the top where of the mouth, the palate.
Yep.
And and of course, a mantra that is used when you say certain mantras, they relax certain parts of the body.
Yeah. And the face as a whole will do that. I used to do a demonstration where I would pick a willing victim and talk them through relaxing all of the muscles in their face and head. And it would get to a certain point where we would have to catch them because their body would just relax. And if you did it to them while they were standing, they would tend to collapse. It's kind of a fun thing. So yeah, there are places in the body that are very important. Everybody here knows where the perineum is. And in acupuncture, that's called the Huyin point. It's like the point where physical power originates, according to my martial arts instructor. He said, you know, everybody talks about the dantian for the origin of power, but it's not. It's the perineum. It's right there, and you bring your power up from that. And that's a very different outlook than some of them.
In sword fight, for example, can you have inner peace?
Yes. As a matter of fact, if you have inner peace when you are fencing, you are much more likely to win.
How do you describe it in sword fight to have inner peace?
Not caring whether I win or lose the match, being completely present with my opponent and turning my opponent into my partner. Not being attached to any emotion that comes up. If you can do this, you enter into a flow state. If you can't do this, you enter into a downward spiral. So, I'm fencing with somebody, and I get a point. I touch them. And they naturally feel a little bit, oh my God, you got a point on me. I lost a little bit. And that can upset them. And if I take that upsetness and accentuate it so that they get more and more lost in that, they're going to lose that match. On the other hand, if somebody touches me in a match and I don't identify with the touch, at the next round of the match will start out as if it was a new match, as if it was the beginning. And because of that, I am much more likely to win, even if the other person is technically better than me. So, in a physical activity like that, you have an upward spiral that leads into flow. And you have a downward spiral that leads into rigidity and defeat. And it is important to always take the upward spiral. And that means you cannot be identified with winning or losing the match.
If we take the example that you said, if we take the opposite view, right? Let's say if I feel inside me some motivation arising, right? Some passion arising, some confidence building up. So is that state, right? Is that state of identity?
You're breaking up really bad here.
Is this better?
I think so. Keep talking.
Yeah. In the example that you said, point against my opponent, I feel a sense of mission.
You are breaking up really, really bad. I'm getting like one word out of three.
Then I will come back. Sure. Please continue. I type it in chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you,
Is this better now?
yes,
Sorry.
that's better. Now I can hear you.
Okay. So I was referring to the example that you gave of the sword fight. In that, let's say if I take the opposite case where I win a point against the opponent, and now within me I'm feeling a sense of motivation, a sense of confidence, right? A passion, a self-confidence kind of a thing. And then many people use this to sort of get the energy and win the game, right? So is this the upward spiral? This is just being identified, right?
That's
With
just being identified. And I love it when people do that. So, I have not fenced anybody my own age for about 6 years now because everybody's younger than me. And I will win a match by letting somebody get a touch and then feeling confident, oh, here's this old guy. I can touch him. I can get a point on him. And then I will fade back a little bit and get them to chase me because they think they're going to get me. And the moment they get identified with, I'm going to beat him, I just take an angle on the line and stab them because they never see it coming. They're so identified with, I'm going to win, that they miss what's really going on. And again, this goes back to Krishna's conversation with Arjuna in the Gita, the idea of acting without attachment to the outcome. So when I fence, I don't actually think about winning all that much. I think about having a perfect match, as close to a perfect match as I can get it. And I don't look to score on my opponent. I look to connect with them in such a way that my sword point finds its way to them without me having to think about it. Now, this does not make me a great fencer, but it makes me a pretty good fencer for my age. And I regularly beat people half my age, a third my age, who are faster, stronger, and have more endurance than I do.
What
Does
would happen if you wanted
Oh, go
your
ahead.
opponent to be at their best?
I always want my opponent to be at their best.
Well, you try to, screw them up a little.
Yeah, how else are you going to learn how not to let people screw you up unless your friends screw you up?
Well, that's one way of doing it.
No, I'm serious. When I was
believe you.
coaching back in Michigan, I would fence with my students and mess with them to the point where they were just about to lose it, and then get them to back off and steady themselves so that they eventually became immune to that kind of stuff. So that's the difference between fencing and combat with a sword. I don't fence with my enemies. I fence with my friends. And so I want them to be the best that they can possibly be. And in order for that to happen, I provide for them enough of a challenge that they have something that they have to overcome. And it's a mental game.
this sounds like, to me, like it would take an enormous effort in maintaining active, concentrated awareness to preserve that state while fencing.
Yes. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. This requires work. You know, you cannot sleep your way through this. Yes, this does tie in with lucid waking.
So can we say that I have my attention with me? If I am identified with, let's say, an emotion or with winning, all my attention is going towards experiencing that particular emotion or state. Versus if I'm in a state of calm presence, I have my attention go to the present moment where I can see the opponent, where I can see what the person is doing, thinking, right? And thus mold my actions or do my actions according to that. Is that one way to look at what you're saying?
That's very close, with one small exception. You do not have your attention. You are your attention. Attention is one of the three qualities of you as a being. So you don't have attention. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
When we speak Gujarati, am I coming across?
Say again?
When in Gujarati we call the soul G.
Yes.
And we also call attention as G.
Mm-hmm.
So we say, in Gujarati, we say, Taro jeev kya chotelo che? Where is your attention stuck?
And that
so
is a perfect phrase.
For attention also and for soul also. So in Gujarati, we say, where is your attention stuck? Of course, it doesn't come so well in English, but in Gujarati, we say that. Taro jeev kya chotelo che?
Yeah, I like that. I am very fond of Gujarati. When I lived in Tanzania, I lived with there's a big Indian community there, most of whom are from Gujarat originally, though that some of them have been in Africa for 2 or 3 generations or more. They were all brought over by the British Raj to act as administrators when the Brits were running everything. And so I got to hear a lot of Gujarati. I even know maybe 3 words. But I thought that it was a wonderful language. So it warms the cockles of my heart to hear a little Gujarati being spoken now. So yes, we have 3 qualities that are almost immutable. We have attention, we have intention, and we have presence. When all 3 of these are together, it creates something very, very powerful. And we say that these are the only things that you own. These are what you have. Everything else can be taken away from you. But as long as there is life in you, you have these 3 qualities that are expressed from your being. And I think I've talked about this at a different talk, so I will look up what that talk is and put it up in a card at the end of this for people who are interested. And if there's enough interest, we will go back to that because that's an important topic. So your attention here is, it's not an object, it's not a noun. And we need to remember that attention is a verb, even though in all of the Indo-European language families, we turn it into nouns. And we need to bring it back to its verbal reality and understand that attention is what we do, not what we have. You can have a nice house, but you can't have nice attention. And there are two tests that you run on words to discover whether or not they are nouns, they are verbs that have been turned into nouns or not. And it is, does whatever you're talking about fit in a wheelbarrow? So you can put an elephant in a wheelbarrow. You can put a car in a wheelbarrow. Looks funny, but you can do it. You cannot put attention in a wheelbarrow. And then the second test is, does it fit well formedly into the sentence and ongoing blank? So you can have an ongoing attention, but you can't have an ongoing elephant. Makes no sense. So using those two tests, we know that attention is not something that we have, it's something that we do, and it's something that we are. And we need to reclaim that attention from the objects given to consciousness. So everything that we experience is given to our being to experience. And if we are caught in the process of experiencing, then we get into identification. And when we are identified with it, when we say, like, inner peace, we say, I have inner peace. And you don't. Show me where it is. Show me where you have it. You can say, I am experiencing peace at the moment. And then we say, what is peace? Oh, it's a state of calm awareness. My musculoskeletal system is relaxed to the point where all I have is the muscle tonus necessary to keep my body in the position I want it to be in, without ongoing tension to distract me. Does that make sense? This is not simple stuff, but y'all are pretty smart, so I have faith that you will understand this.
Can I come back to Gujarati a little?
Yes, please.
We say in Gujarati, taro jeev kya bade che? Bade che means to burn. Where is your soul burning, or where is your soul, your attention burning? So supposing my attention is stuck in a car, and if some young children make a scratch on the car, then I get heartburn. Taro jeev bade che, your soul is burning, right?
Yes.
Or if my attention is stuck in my wife and she does something which I don't like, then I get heartburn. Jeev bade che, we say in Gujarati. So the typical, what do you call, this thing that I am identified with something, the typical quality of that is that if I get heartburn, wherever I get heartburn, I'm identified.
I like that.
Whether it is in physical things, whether it is in relationships. My friend does not call me for dinner, he calls somebody else, I get heartburn, I'm identified, and it could be in mental things. I could be identified with my flag or with my country or with my caste or whatever. So the typical quality we say, if a person is of identification, if I get heartburn wherever I get it, then I'm identified. In Gujarati, we say, Taro jeev jya bade, you are identified. Where your jeev burns, your soul burns, you are identified.
That's perfect, because that is a very accurate description of the process. So, we have outlined the problem and we've touched on the solution. The first solution, the first part of the solution, is to train yourself to create, whenever possible, the calm, alert state. And the best way I know of for that is practicing removing the mask. So here I am and I'm talking to you about this, and every time I pause, I let my face relax, and it feels like a wave of relaxation that goes from here all the way to the back of my head. And it feels good. And it allows me to be present and listen with full awareness to what all y'all are saying. Good God, that typed it correctly. I was a little bit worried when I said y'all that it would not get that. So, practicing that exercise is incredibly good for you. Learning proper yoga nidras with a teacher who actually knows what they're doing is also really good for you. And especially the kind that allow you to maintain your presence while completely relaxing your body and slipping between external consciousness and internal consciousness, moving into the dream state, moving into the deep sleep state, while maintaining your awareness. So you know there are several states of consciousness, right? Starting at the bottom, it's not really the bottom, but you have deep sleep. This is a state where you have zero conscious awareness of yourself. Then you have the dream state, or the various dream states that you're moving through. That gets up to the hypnagogic state, which is just between waking and dreaming. Above that, you have the waking trances that people live in most of the time. And finally, you have awake. You have the state of actually being awake. And above that, the fifth state is the state of abiding non-dual awareness, which we are slowly but surely striving for. And that's where you get to have your awake state all the time. And realize that there is no distinction. Hard to talk about. Cherie, you look like you're thinking of things. This is all your fault, right? So talk to me.
As usual. It's an extension of our conversation yesterday. So
Yes.
no, this is great because it is easily, you can easily fool yourself to think that you are awake, and it's easy to fool yourself that you think you're doing yoga nidra. It's easy to fool yourself to think that you're calm, but I love that where you get heartburn.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
Where you're attached. I think that's awesome. Where you get heartburn. I love that. So thank you very much for that, because it is. It's like, yeah, you do get a bit of heartburn. You do get a bit annoyed. So it's an instant skill that you can see, okay, Yep, that is. If you're honest with yourself, you have to be genuinely honest with yourself and say, whoa, I was attached and I didn't think I was. So it's, yeah, practicing those states. And I do like the idea of using a physical activity, and you know when you're in flow or not. And watching, my thing is tennis. So watching somebody like Roger Federer, who freely admits that his anger nearly destroyed his career when he was a teenager. He was brought to attention to direct that, and you know how you direct your attachment, how you direct your attention. It's very important. And when you watch him hit the ball, he's not looking at the ball. You see the photographs, it's this calm face.
Yes.
And when he's not calm, he loses his flow just as easily as anybody. But it is, you know, you can catch it in yourself, but catching it in yourself is the most important thing. And I love that analogy of, if you think you're enlightened, go live with your parents for a week.
Yes.
In lockdown here in Sydney, whoa, we're getting a lot of that.
Yeah, Nora is experiencing that right now. She is with her mother and her grandmother.
Woo! So, you know, that you have to say thank you for the reminder of, oh, just when I thought I was getting somewhere, you're back to square one, and that's okay. And I love that. This has been a great talk. I love it.
Thank you. It's all your fault.
Got big shoulders.
But inner peace in itself not necessarily will bring a good things, right?
No.
For example, in sword fight, an assassin could be in inner peace while stabbing someone.
Yeah. The fortunate thing is that we stab each other with rubber tips on our swords, so it doesn't last. They get better really quick. But yeah, it's the idea is still there, and I've mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it again because it bears repeating. During the Battle of the Ditch, Ali Ibn al-Talib got into single combat with some guy who like called him names and spit on him. And so Ali spent like a couple of minutes out of range just walking back and forth until he had brought himself back to a centered state. And then he fought the guy and killed him. And after the battle, somebody said to him, why did you stop that fight and wait for so long before you re-engaged? And he said, I was angry. And if I had killed him with anger in my heart, that would have been on me. So I had to stop until I regained my inner peace, and then I could fight him. Most of us will never have to get to that level, but it's something to remember.
I just had a thought about just daily life, because there's no way I'm going to be sword fighting anybody. So.
Yeah, but you might have a nice tennis match, and there ain't that much difference.
Yeah, but I was actually thinking, it's just even like my husband, and I'm attached to having a lovely clean house, or you know how things I like to leave in the kitchen or the bathroom or the bedroom, and he always keeps messing up, always, all the time. And I accused him one day and said, you are such a grub, because he leaves clothes everywhere. And he just turned around, put his hands on his hips, really proud. He said, but I'm a magnificent grub. What? But I actually laughed, and I thought he used humor to diffuse me. But there is also part of me that was trying to impose something that it wasn't important to him. It wasn't something that he was doing maliciously or anything like that. It's all the story, the window dressing
Yeah.
around something that really gets you hung up. And so you think, okay, how do I become calm when my partner is not living up to my expectations? That to me is the most important thing to me, because I need harmony in this house. So I've become less and less attached to him doing those things. And even when I see it messy, oh, well, it's messy. No one's dying. No one's, needing that straight away. It's just the story I dress it up with, and that's
You know the story of the farmer and the snake, right?
refresh me.
So, it's winter, it's cold out, there's snow on the ground, and the farmer comes into a snake in the field, and the snake is like all, he's dying of the cold, and the snake says to the farmer, please warm me, because I don't want to die. And the farmer said, you're a snake, you'll bite me. And the snake says, no, I promise I won't bite you. Just warm me up. Put me in your coat and warm me up. So the farmer takes the snake and he puts him in the coat and he warms him up. And the snake bites him. And the farmer says, you've killed me. You promised not to bite me. And the snake said, when you picked me up, you knew my nature. And you chose to pick me up anyway. So I would remind you of that when you married Ken, you knew his nature.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I have to see the good parts about him. I have to put my attention to the things that make me laugh and why we company and all that. Instead of looking for the flaws, I got to get that splinter out of my own eye and just be able to approach things with more equanimity, and it is a lot less difficult to when you just go, oh well, okay, that's him doing that. Oh well, wipe it up. Oh, well.
And remember that you chose him knowing that he was a magnificent grub.
The magnificent grub is my magnificent teacher many times.
Yeah. And don't tell him that I called him a snake, though.
He is born in the year of the snake.
There you go.
There you go.
So, Sydney says, having some internet issues, but Mushtaq, you haven't talked about breath. Exhale at the beginning of the facial relaxation, breathing through the disidentification process. As a matter of fact, yes. When I do the facial relaxation, I finish my sentence and I'll go and exhale, nice and slow and long. And the length of my exhale is how long it takes for me to relax my face. And then I'll pause at the end of it and I'll just breathe naturally. Breathing through the disidentification process is incredibly important. It makes it so much easier if you can stay within your breath. Breath is the interface between the inner and the outer. And so it will allow you to take more control over what your consciousness is doing with what's being presented to it. So think of something that made you grumpy. Not big grumpy, just a little grump. And then exhale. Pause at the end of the exhale and observe within yourself that thing that made you grumpy. And just let it be an object presented to your awareness. And then let the air come in, and then long exhale again. Longer exhale than inhale. And pause at the end. And you'll notice after you do 2 or 3 breaths, whatever it was that you were grumpy about won't matter quite so much. It's sort of an inner relaxing the face. Does that all make sense? All right. We have been talking like crazy. This has gone much longer. I always go longer than I think. And part of that's because Kyle's not here to tell me to shut up. So I'm going to switch to Brady Bunch mode.
Can I go back to that example of Ali?
Yes.
It's in this moment, what seed am I sowing? And if I'm aware of that, Ali was aware that in this moment, if he sowed the seed of anger, then the outcome could never be good, because
Yes.
the very seed of anger will invite the wrong outcome. So each moment, if I'm aware which seed I'm sowing, it is that seed which invites the future. And so he knew that at that moment, and it is that which we should be aware of each moment, what seed we are sowing. Right? If I sow
Yeah.
a seed of conflict, then it can only invite that in the future. Or if I sow a seed of violence or aggressiveness, it can only invite that. I may be aggressive about the truth only, but the very aggressiveness will invite something very wrong in the future.
Yeah, what you
So
say is
if we can just be
absolutely
aware
true.
of each moment what we are sowing.
Yeah, and until we can learn to act without producing seeds, it's very, very important to know what seed we are sowing. So thank you for that. All right. So, any more thoughts and questions before we wrap this up for the evening? Come on, Mustaqim, you got to have one thought.
While he's thinking,
Yes?
I'll say my grandmother gave me the advice that you deserve the face you get by the time you're 40.
Yeah.
And so that was to stop frowning and things like that. But that goes on for your whole life. You deserve the face you have right now. So what choices are you making?
Yep, it's true. And you can either fix your face or hide your face if you don't like the one you got. I mean, I would like to have more hair again, but I also enjoy having no hair, so it works out. This is ever so much easier. For the longest time, I wore my hair as long as it would go. And it was because my father asked me to. He needed to have one of his sons have long hair so that when he died, I could cut off my hair and hang it on a tree near where he was born. So, but it's a hassle because it takes an hour to wash this stuff when it's down to your waist. It takes forever. So, people like myself and Mustaqim are very wise. We take the monk's life. So, other thoughts, questions, comments, answers? If you have answers, I got plenty of questions. No? Yes. Go, Nancy.
Okay, I was wondering how this interacts with it. I mean, it sounds like it could add up to telling people they shouldn't care how they're treated.
No. It's definitely not that. It's don't be attached to how people treat you.
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody treats me badly, I'm not going to put up with it. I'm not going to sit around for a year or two thinking about how badly this person mistreated me. The trick is, if somebody acts against you or against your best interest, to note it, to be aware, to deal with it, and then to let it go. I mean, the advice that Krishna gave Arjuna was just before this big battle where he had to go and fight all of his relatives. So it's not like it was this gentle yogic nurturing of, action without attachment. It's like, oh, you're about to do this horrific thing, and here's how you're going to get through it. David, any last thoughts?
No last thoughts over here.
I had a question.
Yes.
Again, coming back to the, let's say, the sword fighting example. It's just an example, but you can think of it as anything, any situation. In that, sometimes I've noticed if you don't invoke or, let's say, identify with the positive emotions, right? Like, let's say, motivation or self-confidence, the negative emotions creep up. And by negative, I mean, let's say, either self-doubt, right? Or not, or let's say feeling incompetent, or feeling that, oh, I might not be able, feeling less for the task that's there before us. So like, how do we have that balance, right? Like not being identified and also not having those negative emotions also creep up.
Okay. Do you drive a car?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you need motivation to drive your car?
No.
Can you get behind the wheel and know that you can drive the car?
Yeah.
That's what you need.
So this confident understanding that I can do the task at hand well, right? Like I'm a good player, or I'm a good driver, I'm a good, let's say, what sports person or whatever it is. I can do it well. That confidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you know you can do something, you know it. When you think you can do something, you think it. But when you have to talk yourself into having confidence, you don't believe it. And that's why you get the negative if you aren't doing the positive, because you're stuck in that duality. I can see the little light bulb going off over your head right now.
Yeah, no, this is profound.
He has just got married, so he can only drive the car when his wife tells him to drive.
Aha. But now you have the greatest practice in the world, which is you can spend the rest of your life learning to make your wife happy. This is very important. And this is one of the places where having awareness is essential. Because if you come through the door, you've been at work all day, you come through the door, if your wife is working at home and you're all tired and you walk past her and you don't notice what she looks like, you don't notice the expression on her face, you could miss some very important things.
He won't be able to find peace if he misses his wife.
That's right. Yeah, there's this great story about the Prophet Muhammad. And somebody said to him, "Oh, Prophet, when you're at home, what do you do?" And he said, "I serve my wife." And everybody had that sort of, what? But that in itself is an important lesson. Having a partner is one of the best possible ways I can think of to grow and to practice your awareness. You know, with Noor, she and I are very attuned to each other's states. We aren't all up in each other's business. We can go through the whole day without talking to each other. But there's always that part of my attention that embraces her, so that if she needs something, I know it. If I need something, she knows it. That takes a lot of practice, though, but it's worth the trouble. It's worth the time. This is getting into a slightly different topic, but one that's related, because that calm awareness is really, really important in relationship. Because if you are sitting there and your wife comes up to you and says, "I have this problem," you can either relax everything and listen very carefully to her problem without being identified with whatever it is, because her problem might be your socks on the floor. You never know. Or you can get defensive about it and identify, with being upset about the problem and going, "Oh, this is about me." And it's not about you. It may be about some behavior you have, or it may be about something out in the world. But if you can disidentify with your stuff, then you can listen to your wife fully and completely. And trust me on this, she'll like you better for it. You didn't realize you were going to get all of this marital advice, did you? All right, any other thoughts? Yes. All right, so then I am going to stop the recording and say goodbye to everybody who is watching this on the replay.
Bye. So, bye. Thank you.